My name is Matthew Forrester. I work at Facebook. I work on the advertising partnerships team, which means I spend a lot of my time with Havas Media Group and their advertising clients, helping them build the best and most bespoke marketing and advertising campaigns that they can on Facebook and Instagram. So I'm going to talk today about personalisation, more from a marketing and advertising angle. But I want to just take a little step back and say that Facebook is a very, very young company. It was built by Mark Zuckerberg. This is a photo from about 11.5 years ago, where he coded the Facebook. And it was just for Ivy League universities, originally just for Harvard. Then it scaled out to all universities in North America. And then in about 2007, it went global. The mission then and the mission now is to make the world more open and connected. I've been at Facebook for almost 5 years now, and I've used this slide in every presentation since I joined because it's never changed and it never will change. And working for a mission-based company is really important in everything that we do. So it's grown quite a lot in that time. It's grown from almost nothing to being a sort of a house of brands within Facebook. So there's about 1.5 billion people on Facebook globally, and that's about 1 billion people every day who come to Facebook. We own WhatsApp, and there's about 900 million people on WhatsApp now. We've now separated groups and Messenger into separate apps, and there's lots of people using them, and also there's about 300 million people using Instagram now as well. There's a lot of advertisers, about 2.5 million advertisers on Facebook now, about over 1 million a day. So it's kind of grown into a relatively big business. But it's a really good time to be in the business of connecting to people and using data and technology to do that, because there's almost 3 billion people on the internet in the world now, which bizarrely means that most human beings in the world do not have access to the internet. What they do all have access to, however, is a mobile phone. There are 7 billion mobile phones in the world, which is actually, there's more mobile phones now than toothbrushes in the world, which is incredible. So we are in the midst of a massive technological revolution, and I didn't realise how massive until a couple of months ago when my son he's 4 years old, he was starting school, he was going to primary school, and he was a bit anxious. He was kind of scared about going, so we decided to have a party around at our house for his new classmates, and they all came round, and I was chatting to a couple of the mums in our kitchen, and I got this little tap on my hip from this little girl. She's 4 years old, she's called Isabel, she lives up the road, and she said, are you Jackson's dad? It's called Jackson, my son. She said, are you Jackson's dad? And I said, yeah. And she said, can I have the Wi-Fi code? And I was like, right, that's it, it's over. And so that has absolutely framed how our business has moved, and this mobile world is just absolutely incredible now. Gone are the days when you could create one ad, stick it on the telly, and everyone went and bought your product. Building one thing that appeals to millions of people is impossibly hard. The reason why we talk about things like the Bisto ads from the 80s is because it very rarely happens. So a few things that appeal to many is really hard, and the reason is because from the moment I wake up in the morning to the moment I go to bed at night, every experience I can have is completely personalised to me. So whether it's the alarm that wakes me up, whether it's my checking Facebook first thing in the morning, whether it is watching my own Netflix channel, whether it's my Spotify playlist, everything could and should be personalised to me. And what that's meant is that because people know that more is possible, they expect more from big advertisers. So this is a guy called Boz. Boz is our head of ads engineering at Facebook. He's been at Facebook. He built Newsfeed about 9 years ago. He's been there since almost day one. He's a really good guy, and he started working on ads engineering about 2 years ago. And what he asks people on Facebook, and by people I mean millions of people in hundreds of countries, is like, what do you hate about Facebook ads? So you would, I personally thought is that people don't like ads, they don't want any ads on Facebook. But by far and away, the biggest complaint we get is that if you know so much about me, why are the ads that you're showing me completely irrelevant? And that's always the most, comfortably the most amount of feedback that we get. So the question we have is, how do you respond creatively to that. So one of the questions I get asked about Facebook all the time is that people ask me, what's the best ad on Facebook? Like, what's the coolest thing that anyone's ever put on Facebook? And my answer is always the same, if a little bit annoyingly cryptic, because it depends who's Facebook. So there are 1 billion people every day on Facebook. So we are serving 1 billion completely different and bespoke experiences to people every single day. So the best ad that I could see would be for, I don't know, 2-for-1 tickets at Crystal Palace Football Club, where you could take your kids for free or something like that, served on a Wednesday. And obviously that wouldn't be your best one, no? No. Or, you know, from Ian's point of view, it could be Rugby World Cup tickets or whatever. So the most important comms or messages that I can see during the week is completely different for all of us in this room. So you'll see this a lot. There is a lot of information on Facebook, but actually Ian made a brilliant point, because data is only as good as the small truths that it unlocks about people, which enables brands and advertisers to have a competitive advantage in the comms that they're building on Facebook. So, marketing has changed. I come from a newspaper background. I used to work for News International, and we would put an ad for Tesco on the first 20 pages of The Sun, and then everyone would go and buy a product in Tesco's. That was the idea. We didn't really measure it. We didn't really know if it worked. Actually, what's happened now is that you can still get the same scale that advertisers are used to getting. They still reach the same number of people, but they can just build different types of ads for different types of customers. So whether it's someone who spends a lot of money on Waitrose, for example, or whether it's somebody who goes on a lot of train journeys or it has a longer lifetime value, you can just start to segment audiences in a really, really interesting way. But still meaning that you get the amount of scale that big advertisers really need to shift the dial on the stuff that they care about. So the future, and the way that we think about the future, is personalised visual discovery across devices. And that's really important, because it's true, more of us have 3 devices than 1. That's more of us have 3 devices on us than 1 in the UK now, which is massive, but also poses a really big challenge. Visual discovery is important. The way that people are communicating in mobile is changing. It's kind of going back to hieroglyphics, weirdly. Like the way that people are just using GIFs and emojis and stuff like that. It feels kind of Egyptian, really. So this is the way that we think about it. So back in 2011, this is what Facebook looked like. This is kind of like an iPhone 2 or 3. Very text-based, not very visual. Roll on to now, an iPhone 5 or 6. It's a much more of a visual experience. There's kind of pictures, some videos that are starting to autoplay, and it feels like a much more of a visual medium. Notice that the phones are getting bigger as well. This isn't building, but what it would be doing is a continuous stream of linear video content. We think that the Facebook newsfeed will be served on bigger phones and will be almost 100% video content by the time we get to around 2018. And actually across everywhere, global internet traffic, the vast majority of it will just be video traffic, because people are used to seeing sight, sound and motion served on really high-tech mobile devices. So to put some numbers on that, there are around 4 billion video views per day on Facebook. Most of them are served on mobile devices, and that's about double of what we saw last year. So just to go back to this point around data, advertisers who do Facebook really, really well just use the information that we have to make the comms the most resonant that they can possibly be to the individuals that are seeing them. And a really, really good example of that is Lexus. So actually, this is in North America, and the reason why the reason why I think the North Americans get this right much better, they're much better at this than us, is because they've been doing this for a lot longer. So America is a huge, diverse country, and what you serve to someone in New York is different to what you serve someone in California, which is different to someone you serve in Detroit or whatever. So they've been personalising their comms for a lot longer than us. I still think we come up with the best ideas in the world, but they've always been better at personalising. What Lexus wanted to do, they wanted to speak to culturally savvy, inspired urbanites, like myself. And what they did is they worked with us to look at actually how can we segment our audiences in a really, really intricate way. So they looked at things like personal passions, fashion, music, tech and travel. They looked at geographical relevancy, so where people were. And actually they looked at people's relationship with the brand. So it was kind of like inferred data, behavioural data, and then data that Lexus had in order to add an additional layer of colour to those audiences they wanted to go after. They built 1,000 different ads for 1,000 different audiences on Facebook, and that was a huge amount. I'm not suggesting everyone should do this, but it was a huge amount of creative work. But what it meant was that the most relevant and resonant messages were served to people in a really, in a way that didn't feel in any way creepy. It just made people think, well, Lexus know me. Like, I'm Matt, I live in Tunbridge Wells, I support Crystal Palace, I've got 2 children. Like, the ad that I would have seen would have been completely different to the one that you guys would have seen. And it just delivered the best results that it could possible. The brand that does this the best, as you would expect, is McDonald's. So McDonald's completely understand that everyone that comes through their door is completely different. They came to us with a problem last year, and they said, because they were a big World Cup sponsor. Was it last year, the World Cup? Oh my God, I lose track. It was during the last World Cup, and they said, we've got a bit of a problem. We're one of the major sponsors, but we're worried that it's such a cluttered comms event, we're not going to get cut through. We're not going to get people to remember us. So they said to us, how can you bring to life what we're doing at the World Cup in the best way possible? So what we did is we decided to look at all of the people who've been watching the games, and then overnight build all of the highlights using actual little French fries and all these kind of, like, we did it in our London office. All of the props were all McDonald's packaging, and then overnight we would create the story, storyboard it, film it, edit it, speak to the lawyers at McDonald's, reshoot it, then speak to the lawyers again at FIFA, and then 9 AM in the morning we'd serve video content of the highlights of the matches that people had watched the night before. So if I'd have been watching Holland versus whoever it was when Robin van Persie did that amazing header, I would have been served that. If I hadn't watched it, I wouldn't have been, because we wanted to really sort of like continue the story overnight. And it was amazing. They reached about 130 million people across Europe. They actually reached people in countries they didn't even trade in. They won just about every single award going, and actually the marketing director of McDonald's at the time is now the CMO. So it was a really important campaign for them, and just really showcases how seriously big brands are taking personalisation in this space. So I'll leave you with this. Understanding people is good for business, and it doesn't really matter what business you're in, whether it's whether you're recruiting people, whether you're looking to drive people into a shop, whether you're looking to change behaviour, whether you're looking to for people to think differently about your brand. The more understanding and respect you pay to individuals about their passion points and what they love, the better outcomes you're going to get. And that's me. Thank you very much.